I'm Silver. It is Monday, June 17th. I just wanted to say a quick hello to all new viewers, and an awesome welcome back must also go out to all returning viewers. If you tuned in last time and decided to come back, I really do appreciate it. You can find me on Ravelry as Silverluna2112, at Silver's Treats on Instagram, and at Silver's Knitting on Twitter. Anyway, how have you all been? I've been pretty good. It's been a busy week in my world, so I do have a lot to talk to you about, and I'm going to go ahead and just jump right in, right? So just grab your drink of choice, you are knitting or crafting, and away we go. Today, I'm actually just drinking some water out of a straw, so if you hear a little bit of noise, you know why. Like that. Anyway, let's move on to FOs. So I did finish two different projects this time around. The first I finished was what I called Hat Fort EE. This did get me 179 yards. The pattern that I used on this one was actually a vanilla hat pattern that I just kind of made up on the spot as I went. I ended up casting on 96 stitches. I did 10 rows of ribbing, 2x2 ribbing, and stocking it for the rest of the hat up until it got to within a couple inches of being large enough for MTI's head. I have put all of my notes to this effect actually directly into that project page. I ended up using a size US 6, which is a 4.0 16-inch marble circus on the hat, and then I moved it to DPNs, also marbles, once I got to the crown decreases. And I ended up using Uptown Yarns DK in the Peach Smoothie colorway. Oh, I absolutely love it. And I had exactly 3 yards left over. Which was amazing. And then I did finish 2 washcloths for June. So this does get me a total of 120 yards I finished this week. I am using the Grandma's Dishcloth by PJ Allen all year long, as well as a size US 6, which is a 4.0 millimeter on 24-inch marble circulars throughout the entire year. This week I did use Knit Picks Dishy in the Azure colorway, which is nice, awesome blue. I love it. So what this means is I do have a total of 14,345 yards, or roughly 13,117.7 meters. Whew, I'm getting there, you guys. Whew. So besides the 2 things I finished, I have a hoe. I did finish the first stock of the I Can Do the Can You, or also better known as June 2019's DVD socks. I am using the Hermione's Everyday Socks pattern by Erica Luter, and I am using Mr. Dye Works her Viso base in the Moulin Rouge colorway, hence the project title. Sometimes I like to be slick like that, but anyway, I am using a size US 1, which is a 2.25 millimeter 9-inch circulars for a majority of the sock until I get to the heel, and then I do switch out to DPNs. And for the toes, I have been using 2 sets of 16-inch circular needles. So let's move on to what I am currently working on. Since the last time we talked, I did manage to go ahead and cast on 2 new projects. The first is what I'm calling Here Kitty Kitty socks. So the plan is to knit these socks in an afterthought everything style, whereby I will add the heels and the cuffs at the very end of the socks. Let's just hope I can go ahead and remember that. Anyway, my plan is to go ahead and knit 36 rows, which is usually what I need for my foot before the heel. And then go ahead and put in waste yarn to place the heel. And then I will go ahead and knit 100 rounds or so, broken up in half by more waste yarn. And then I will go ahead and put more waste yarn in for the second heel. And then go on to the second toe. Wish me luck, y'all. Anyway, as I mentioned, since it is going to be an afterthought style, I am going to use the Afterthought Heel Socks by Lala of the Knit Girls, whereby the waste yarn gets put in there. And they do have a video tutorial for that, so I figure I will be better off doing that particular pattern. Anyway, I digress. I am using Gail's Art Single Sock Blank in the Here Kitty Kitty. This is what it looks like. And I'm also going to be using contrast heels, toes, and cuffs. I'm going to be using Dreaming Color Smushy in the Torchwood colorway, which is a black color, which will be a perfect contrast color to the almost wild and crazy that the Here Kitty Kitty is. And I am using a size US 2, which is a 2.75 millimeter and 9-inch circulars all the way through up until the toe. This is actually being housed in, well, a Sidbok bag. If you are new to the podcast, you probably have not heard this story before. I tend to put all of my sock blank whips in Ziploc bags, mostly to hold the sock blank in and to make it less likely to slip and fall over the floor, because I pull pretty hard when it comes to my knitting. And the first time I ever knit a sock blank, it went all over the place, and it did not end well. Once I put it in the Ziploc bag, I was like, okay, cool. Anyway, I digress. The second thing that I did cast on since the last time we talked is a project that I am going to be calling Stripes Abound. I have started a new Granny Stripes blanket. This pattern is by Lucy of Attic 24. I'm going to be using Lion Brand Pound of Love, mostly in the Dreamsicle and Blue Bell colorways, with other colorways mixed in as well. But those two are the two that I have in the blanket already. For this blanket, I'm actually going to be using a size I hook, which is a 3.5 millimeter crochet hook. And this project is actually going to be housed in a pink bag, actually, that I bought from Walmart ages ago, up until I have another large bag available. Let's see, there were several other older projects that did get a bit of love this time around. The first one was my Huffle Pride sweater. As a gentle reminder, this is the Hogwarts of History pattern by Megan Reagan. I am using two colorways of Sweet Georgia Yarn's Tough Love Sock. Slate is actually the main color that goes all the way through the body, and I did use the colorway Lemon Curd for the low color work. I do plan on putting another chart of the music notes down at the bottom as well before the ribbing, but we'll see. That might be a while until I reach that. I have figured out that the body before the swing hem that I'm planning on putting in, I need 42 total rounds, and I have gotten to around 16 as of yesterday. I'll get there, you guys. I am using size US 3, which is a 3.25 millimeter for the ribbing and the collar as well. And I am using a size US 6, which is a 4.0 millimeter Carbons 40-inch cables for the majority of the sweater. And I love these needles, you guys. But yeah, those needles are really, they're quite loud when I'm working with them the way I knit. So that's why I'm not working on it while we are recording. The second thing that did get a little bit of love since the last time we talked was what I called SSDGM and F Politeness. I did finish Clue 2A, so one part of the Clue 2, and I'm working on the second part now, about 9 rows in, so I'm almost done with that first pattern rotation. Sorry, I've been working on this a little bit slower, but the third Clue does release on Friday, so I do want to try to finish it by then. Wish me luck, y'all. So this is the My Favorite Murder Mystery wrap by CC Allman. And as I mentioned, the clues come out usually on a Friday. I will go ahead and list all of the clue release dates. So if you'd like to go ahead and participate, you do still have plenty of time. I am using Suburban Stitcher Sock in the Triflers Need Not Apply colorway, as well as a size US 3, which is a 3.25 millimeter for the original cast on, which is an I-cord cast on. Oh, it took me a while, but I love the way it looks. And I am using a size US 4, 3.5 millimeter for the rest of the shawl. Silver's unraveling fast. A quick note, the things that I have frogged this past week are things that have either I've been meaning to frog for a while and just never really gotten to, or the yarn may just have wanted to be something else. Or actually, I originally started the project for a person that I no longer talk to and haven't talked to in long enough that I'm just going to go ahead and assume that they don't want the item any longer. And then in that particular case, I have gone ahead and just frogged it. The first that I frogged this past week was what I called a winter snow. This was actually one of those instances where the reason that I ripped it out was because I no longer talk or work with the person that I started it for. I actually casted this on back in November of 2015 for somebody that wanted to commission me for the blanket with orange and purple/blue. I created a pattern just for her and worked on the blanket diligently, actually, until about December. And then she left the job that we were both working at the time. And since I had no way of contacting her at all, I just stopped working on it that December and haven't touched it since. Except to look longingly at it. Maybe I want the colors for myself. I don't know. Anyway, this week I did come across it again and decided that I wanted to reclaim the yarn for one of the whips that I mentioned above. I was using the Lion Brand Pound of Love in the creamsicle and blue bell colorways and a size US 7, which is a 4.5 millimeter Susan Bates needles. Now, when I finally made the decision, I had to break those needles just to get to the project off the needles. As these needles were probably one of the first pair of size 6s that I bought, and they were so old, and the project was so old, and they just, I don't know, the needles on the project just kind of fused themselves together. I have to admit, I was laughing like a loon when I was trying to break the needles. The needles almost won, y'all. They were that stubborn. Like, I'm still laughing thinking about it now. Empty, I thought I was going a little bit around the bend when I first told him what I wanted to do with them, but whatever. So now I no longer have those needles. I should have taken a picture of the needles before I tossed them, right? That way you can see for yourself. Anyway, the second thing that I did go ahead and rip out this week was what I called the Doctor is Magic. Honestly, the combo of crazy variegated yarn and the pattern just didn't really work well together. I do love the pattern, don't get me wrong, but I think the yarn just wants to be something else. As evidenced by the fact that I have not worked on this since the day that I cast it on, in August of last year, believe it or not. I just thought it was time to let it go. As a reminder, this was the Wibbly Wobbly Cowly Wally pattern by CC Almond. I went ahead and put, so I do plan on revisiting this pattern in the future, probably with a less busy yarn. I have to think on what color I want to use, but I really do want that FO. To that end, I went ahead and put this project back in my queue. I was using Pandia's Jewels hand-dyed yarn in the Snug Base. The colorway was called But I Think I Came Out More Magician, which is very variegated and bright and happy. But this was on a size US 4 Nova Platina needles. The third thing that I did go ahead and rip out this week was what I called Mermaid Take 2. This was another instance that the reason I ripped it out was because I no longer work or talk with the person that I started it for. Plus, honestly, I had knitted this pattern once and I did not overly enjoy it the first time. And I was already dragging my heels about wanting to revisit the pattern so soon after finishing the other one. Even for the person I was making it for, because I really do like her. Anyway, the pattern was the Mermaid Tail Blanket pattern by Angie Hartley. I have long since actually deleted the project page, even long before I went and ripped it out. So I honestly don't know what needles I used. I'm so sorry. The last thing that I did rip out this time around was what I called Crowley's Back in Black. Honestly, I think I was too ambitious with the black on black nature of these yarns. I also figured out that I would prefer to have this solid black for another project. That and the fact that I haven't really worked on this shawl since I first cast it on in October of 2017. And it has sat with only one pattern repeat for that long. The pattern that I was using on this was the Girl from the Grocery Store by Hoki Locatelli. Honestly, this one's going to be another revisit for me another time because I do love the pattern and I want to knit it. To that end, it's back in my Ravelry queue. I was using Dreaming Color Smushy in the Torchwood colorway, as well as Gnome Acres House Gnome in the Crowley colorway. And for this project, I was using a size US 7, which is a 4.5 millimeter needle. Let's move on to X's and O's. This week has been a really busy week for my blog, y'all. I have managed to remember to update my FO parade, which I had not updated since April, I think. Yeah, but that basically what this means is that there were a lot of individual posts that went up with each FO, but they are all up there now. I was also able to remember to update my post on the Great Podcaster Craft Together FO parade as well. Again, I had forgotten to do that since April. Oops. Oh, and lastly, I did put up an updated Stash Dash post whereby I'm going to go ahead and discuss all of my current plans for whips and things like that that I want to finish during Stash Dash. I had an initial goal of trying to get as many blankets done as I possibly could. I don't think I have the energy to do that, and I already am pretty close to my goal, so I don't need to worry about that. And I'm going to go ahead and update this as much as I possibly can over the course of the summer as I'm finishing things. So please stay tuned. Radio GaGa. You guys, I have been listening to a little bit of stuff throughout the course of the week. I have been listening to the Darkness Permission to Land, as well as Stabbing Westward's Darkest Days. And I've also been listening to Season 1, Volume 2 of the Outlander soundtrack as well. So besides music this week, I have also listened to a fair amount of podcasts. I have listened to And That's Why We Drink, MDI's podcast, which is the Divisive Albums podcast. My Favorite Murder, of course, The Women of Harry Potter. I have also listened to The Murder Squad, Wine and Crime, and then Harry Potter and the Sacred Text. And this morning I did get a chance to listen to the newest Associates Anonymous podcast. I did do a promo swap with them for both this podcast and for the Music for Two podcast through MTI and I. And mine were both on this past week. So yay! So definitely give them a listen if you haven't already. They're absolutely amazing. Not to mention they're funny as all get out. Silver's book pile. So I have managed to finish 4 books since the last time we talked. The first 3 were all in the same series by Bria Marsh. The first one was Destiny and a Bottle of Merlot. And then I finished Intrigue and a Bottle of Merlot. And the third one was Desire and a Bottle of Merlot. Because why not? You had me at a bottle of Merlot, let's be honest. And the last book that I did manage to finish even this morning was a book called The Deep End by Kristen Ashley. As to what I'm currently reading, I am still reading through A Breath of Snow and Ashes by Daniel Gabaldon, as well as Mount Vernon Love Story by Mary Higgins Clark, and Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Mensacolo. Again, I still have not figured out how to pronounce her last name. I'm so sorry, you guys. But you can definitely find all of the books that I'm currently reading and what I have read. I am Silverluna there on Goodreads. Silver and the Case of the Screen Time. This week I did manage to watch the current Dead Files episode, as well as Portals to Hell. I did watch about 12 episodes of 24, so I'm going to be going into season 3 in a little bit. And I had been watching a little bit of the new Doctor Who as well, on my way to finishing all of the episodes before the new season begins, whenever that's going to be, which I think should be in 2020 sometime. Don't quote me on that, though. The rest of my week has been spent watching podcasts. I did catch up with Knit Circus. I've also caught up with the Knit Girls, as well as the Geeky Girls Knit podcast. I did find a new podcast called A Curious Cuttlefish, and I spent a lot of time this past week catching up with Unseen Strands, as I had been backed up since before Vlogmas, her Vlogmas episodes, and I just realized that. So sorry, Mose. So let's move on to my favorite things. The first one that I want to talk about is my craft space. I had recently experienced what I can only term as a crafty tornado happen in my craft room over the past 4 months that honestly had never gotten a chance to clean up because, that's how I am. Anyway, this past week I did get it through my head that I really wanted to be organized again. So I did go ahead and just took the reins and went with it. What this meant was about 6.5 hours of organizing and cleaning and putting things away, all that good stuff. I did put up a almost in progress video up on Instagram. So if you missed this video, I'm going to go ahead and pop it in at the end of the episode just in case you would like to go ahead and watch it. See, the second thing I do want to mention is Father's Day. So here in the States, yesterday was actually Father's Day. As a special surprise, MTI, my brother, and I all drove down to Farmington to my dad's over 50 men's soccer game. The guys always do seem to have a lot of fun, even though the refs honestly had lost control of the game in the second half of the game. Don't even get me started on this, as it could be a whole 10-minute rant about basically a player not being even checked in at the beginning, pushes that were called as body checks, and trips just being called people playing on the ground, like lots of dangerous play action that weren't called. And honestly, there was collisions between two players going for the ball, and like trips were called. Ugh. Anyway, enough about that. You get the gist. You will go ahead and add all those photos and videos at the end of the episode as well. Oh yes, and the third thing I'm going to mention is I did get tagged to play the 10 non-yarny things about me game that went through the community, I believe, back in January. I did get tagged by Mo's Crochet, and honestly, and like I mentioned before, I didn't see it until this past week, so I'm going to go ahead and play that game now. I'm going to call this segment Tag, You're It. Okay, 10 non-yarny things about me. The first is that I am a bit of a klutz and a fast talker. I call tripping on something, I found it, and I usually just laugh it off, and because eventually it never fails, I will trip up the stairs. Trip up the stairs, you guys. The fast talking, I think, has actually improved since I started this podcast. Honestly, I blame the fast talking-ism on the fact that I cannot sit still for very long, nor can I think on one topic for very long. Basically, my mouth has always been trying to play catch up. The second thing is that I have been with my husband, MTI, since I was 16. I first noticed him during one of our band concerts, basically as he knocked over several music stands during a very quiet moment between songs. And then once he busted on me at lunch about something that I said to a friend, pretty much without hearing the end of that sentence. I honestly never mentioned it, but kind of like that he felt comfortable enough with me that he just butt into that conversation just to make me laugh. We became good friends after that. And then he asked me out at the end of my sophomore year, like literally the last day, back in high school. And we have been together ever since. And since then, we literally have grown up together. Oh, number 3, here's an easy one. Maybe you already know this about me, but I do have a tuxedo cat named Mario. He is 7 years and 3 months old. He is a cat that my husband and I rescued, and he has been living with us since he was 9 months old. The fourth thing is that I do play the flute and piccolo and have played them seriously since grade 6. I also do play a bit of the piano and the electric guitar, and over the years I have picked up things like the handbells as well as the recorder and things like that, depending on what our band required. See, number 5 is that I did sing a bit in the 5th grade choir, but I was forced to not pursue it after grade 6 as I did not have room in my class schedule up until I got into grade 11. I have been told that I am pretty good at mimicking other artists when I sing, but that I don't actually have a voice of my own, so ouch. I'm thinking that's changed since 5th grade, but whatever. Number 6 is I do listen to a large variety of music. I listen to everything from heavy metal to classic rock to even classic music. I listen to soundtracks to rap. Honestly, the only music that I'm not a really big fan of is like super twangy country. Sorry if that's your jam, but it's not mine. I do, however, like pop country though. That's fine. Okay, number 7. I do play a large number of video games. Honestly, I am not very good at the games I try, but whatever. I play a few Facebook games, mostly recently Diggy's Adventure. I have found a Seeker's Adventure game as well, which is a lot of different games inside of the game. So let's see. Oh, I've played all of the Super Mario games and have been obsessed with all of the Lego games, most especially the ones that are based on a movie or movie franchises. For example, the Lego Harry Potter games, as well as the Lego Indiana Jones games. Oof. Speaking of which, I should probably start them over again and play them, huh? Let's see. Oh, number 8. This is completely random. I was a quote-unquote professional speedrunner for about 41 minutes back in 2013. Just a quick explanation about what speedrunning is. It is basically where you play through a game as fast as you possibly can and record it for proof, and then submit it to a board called Speed Demos Archive, or SDA. I have seen some games that have world records for it, like anywhere from like 18 seconds, which is the original Super Mario Brothers, and some larger games do have 6+ hours of speedrun stats. Anyway, in 2013, MDI and I actually volunteered to speedrun the first Super Mario Brothers game for the Wii at the charity event that was hosted by SDA. We were raising money for the PCF, or the Prevent Cancer Foundation, just because it is a charity that we really believe in. Although, I'm just going to tell you right now, the word professional is in quotes, as I never really did get the concept of speedrunning and needing to actually practice said run, and it definitely shows in the way that I took this particular game. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and link the video that SDA put up here in YouTube directly in the show notes, as well as in the description bar below if you are interested in seeing the video. Be aware, if you are very sensitive to trolls, don't read the comments, because I made that mistake myself. Anyway, I digress. Number 9, I do love to read. I do read most genres, although I do tend to gravitate toward paranormal romance about 85% of the time. I have been known to read the classics, as well as some true crime books as well. If you'd like to see what I am currently reading, as I mentioned before, I am Silverluna on Goodreads. Please feel free to go ahead and friend me there if you'd like. I don't mind. The last non-yarny thing about me is that I own over 200 movies and TV series, both between Amazon and physical copies that I own, and that are in shelving units right next to me, actually. Honestly, this number does not include the number of movies that I borrowed over the years from family members or Blockbuster back in the day when it was still open in my area. I've always loved movies and binge watching TV shows over and over again. I like to joke with my family that if I can quote something backward and forward, that it's a good movie or TV show, and that they should also be watching it. We have come to the end of the road. I am pretty social. You can find me on our Ravelry board, which is Silver's Dreamland Podcast. I am Silverluna2112 there on Ravelry. On Facebook, Silver's Dreamland can be found at www.facebook.com/Silver's Dreamland. On Instagram, I am Silver's Treats. On Twitter, I am at Silver's Knitting. Just note that I do tend to read through all messages as soon as I possibly can. If you don't hear from me within 24 hours, please feel free to email me directly at silversdreamland@gmail.com. As always, everything that I talk about can be found directly in the show notes at www.silversdreamlandpodcast.com. Just a quick note, if you are trying to reach me via Instagram direct messages, I actually cannot see those messages. You're probably either better off messaging me directly on Ravelry, or you can go ahead and send me an email. That would probably be the best way. I'm so sorry. I have not been able to grab those direct messages since the software has been since the application has been updated 100 times or so since I got my phone, and my phone no longer supports the new updates. I'm so sorry. Anyway, I have rambled for long enough. I know your time is valuable, so please feel free to go ahead and join in any discussion or start your own on the Silver's Dreamland Ravelry board. I don't bite, I promise. So please stay tuned for episode 75 on the 24th. Until next time, happy crafting!
I had kind of an avalanche happen while I was trying to clean out the media room, aka my yarning room. Still kind of a mess, but I now have my own crafty space. Reorganized. Only took me close to 6 hours, but I feel accomplished.